The parking violation notice was blinking red when the sky folded. I was still arguing with the automated city enforcement drone about the definition of temporary orbital docking when every satellite feed on my tablet froze. The drone paused mid-lecture, its polite synthetic voice stuttering. "Citizen Armin Yilmaz," it said, "your vehicle is." The sky rippled like someone had shaken a sheet of dark glass. My tablet went black. The drone fell silent. For 3 long seconds, even the traffic below forgot how to honk. Then something silver appeared above the skyline, not descending, not flying, simply existing. "Well," I muttered, "that's new." My wrist console vibrated with emergency frequencies from the orbital engineering network. Unauthorized mass signature. Gravitational distortion localized. No propulsion trace. No thermal bloom. Of course, I sighed. The one day I skipped lunch. The object wasn't large, but it bent the air around it, subtle and arrogant. Like it knew the laws of physics and had decided they were more suggestions than rules. My console chirped again. Then every device in a 2-block radius rebooted simultaneously. A beam formed, not light, not matter, something between, and touched the roof of the building opposite mine. And she stepped out of it. She looked human at first glance. Calm. Upright, focused in a way that made you feel slightly underprepared for existence. Dark suit, seamless fabric, no visible seams or fasteners. Her posture suggested diplomacy, or conquest, hard to tell. Then I saw her ears, long, elegant, tapered slightly and curving back past her jawline. They moved independently, tilting as if tasting the air. Expressive in ways human ears had long since given up on. She looked directly at me across the gap between buildings. "Great," I whispered, "of all the balconies in the city." A pulse of pressure passed through the air, and suddenly she wasn't across the street anymore. She was standing on my rooftop. No sound, no flash, just a correction in distance. I took a careful step backward. "Hi," I offered because humanity has traditions. Her eyes studied me. One ear angled forward, the other twitched. "You are designated," she said, her voice smooth but carrying a faint harmonic echo, "local orbital infrastructure specialist." "Wow," I said. "That's the nicest thing anyone's called me all year." "You will assist," she continued, "with planetary evaluation." I blinked. "You mean like tourism review, because I have opinions about public transport." Her head tilted slightly. Both ears adjusted, recalibrating. "This world has been placed under observational annex." There it was, the sentence that ends civilizations. Calm, polite, grammatically correct. "Annex," I repeated, "as in paperwork. Or as in lasers." She considered this. "Initial phase does not include lasers." "Comforting." She stepped closer. I noticed the faint shimmer around her, like gravity was slightly misaligned in her personal space. "You display elevated stress response," she observed. "That's just my personality." One ear flicked. "Clarification," she said. "Your species produces humor during threat scenarios." "Yes," I said. "It's either that or screaming." She seemed to process this deeply, as if humor were a rare mineral. "I am Envoy Thielen of the 9th Expansion Choir," she said. The last word vibrated oddly in the air. "Can I call you Lena?" I asked quickly. "For survival purposes." A pause. "That designation is inefficient," she replied. "It's shorter." Another pause. Her ears angled toward each other slightly. "Acceptable." "Great, Lena, it is." In the distance, sirens began to rise. Military frequencies crackled faintly through my console. She looked toward the horizon, expression unreadable. "You will accompany me," she said. "Do I get a say in that?" "No. Thought so." Above us, the silver object shifted slightly, space bending like a held breath. I swallowed. "So," I said carefully, "when you say observational annex, what exactly happens to us?" She looked at me again, calm, certain. "That," she said, "depends on whether you are statistically worth preserving." I exhaled slowly. "Okay," I muttered. "No pressure. You are walking too slowly," Lena said. I'm processing planetary annexation, I replied. It's not a light jog situation. We were still on the rooftop. Sirens were multiplying. My console was vibrating like it had developed anxiety. She extended her hand toward the air. Observe, she said. That word makes me nervous. Space folded again, but this time I felt it. A pressure behind my eyes, like my skull had briefly become theoretical. The silver object above shifted and projected a lattice of faint geometric lines across the sky. That is a local curvature adjustment, she said. Minimal gravitational modulation. Minimal, I repeated, as a loose ventilation unit slid 3 centimeters toward her boots. She frowned slightly. One ear dipped. Correction. Slightly above minimal. You think. She stepped forward and tapped the air with 2 fingers. A small sphere of distortion formed between her hands. My stomach flipped as if it had lost faith in gravity. What you perceive as force, she said, is merely geometry behaving inefficiently. Geometry is doing great, I said. Let's not blame geometry. She ignored that. This planet's gravitational well is crude but stable. We will test its adaptive resilience. Define test. She looked at me. You. I blinked. That is not the direction I was hoping this conversation would go. A pulse radiated outward from the sphere in her hands. My boots lifted off the ground. Lena. Yes, I am ascending. That is accurate. I drifted upward about half a meter, horizontal now, arms flailing with zero dignity. This is not how I wanted to be abducted. You are not abducted, she said calmly. You are locally reoriented. Put me down before the military sees this and decides I'm collaborating. Her ears angled toward the distant sirens. Your defensive forces are inefficient. Their response time is delayed by bureaucratic layering. Don't insult our bureaucracy. It's our strongest defense mechanism. She studied me for a second longer, then snapped her fingers. Gravity returned with enthusiasm. I hit the rooftop harder than necessary. Apologies, she said. Calibration error. Please calibrate me less. She crouched beside me, observing my pulse with unsettling interest. Your heart rate increases during humor as well as danger. That's because I cope. She straightened and looked toward the silver craft. There will be further arrivals, she said, from your people. Yes. Are they also NXY? Her ears shifted. They are auditors. That sounds worse. She paced slowly, the air around her shimmering faintly. My superiors require confirmation that this biosphere contains adaptive complexity beyond projected failure thresholds. Which means, if Earth is predictable, it is expendable. That's comforting, I muttered. She stopped pacing. You are orbital infrastructure specialist. You understand satellites, communication grids, power distribution. Yes. You will demonstrate chaotic resilience. I stared at her. You want me to prove humanity deserves to exist? Yes. No pressure, I said again. A streak of light shot across the sky, too straight, too controlled to be natural. She followed it with her gaze. First probe entering system perimeter, she said. That was fast. Time is relative. Don't start with that. She looked at me, genuinely curious. You object to relativity. I object to being graded by space auditors. Her lips twitched faintly, one ear lifted. That was humor, she said, gold star. She stepped closer. I selected you because your psychological profile indicates irregular response patterns. That's the nicest way anyone's called me unstable. Unstable systems are difficult to model, she said. Difficult systems are valuable. I pushed myself up, brushing dust from my jacket. So your plan is to weaponize my personality? Yes. That feels invasive. She extended her hand again, this time controlled. I hesitated, then took it. The world shifted, not distance, not light, but probability. For a split second, I felt alternate versions of myself making different choices. Then it was gone. You experienced multivariate projection, she said. I experienced dizziness. You did not panic. I specialize in denial. Her ears angled forward sharply. That trait may preserve your species. Finally, I said, a skill on my resume. Another streak of alien light flared in the upper atmosphere. She released my hand. The auditors are curious, she said softly. About us. About me. I looked at her long ears, now tilted back slightly. You didn't tell them everything, did you? Silence. Observation missions are not meant to interfere, she said. But you are. Yes. I exhaled. So we're not just being evaluated. No. What are we? She met my eyes. A variable. The probe has entered lunar orbit, Lena said. Of course it has, I replied. Tourists always start with the moon. It is not tourism. Right, auditing, even worse. We were inside my apartment now, because apparently planetary evaluation required coffee. The silver craft remained above the city, invisible unless you knew how to look at space the wrong way. My screens were alive with global panic, military feeds, civilian uploads, conspiracy forums celebrating early victory. Lena stood by the window, listening to frequencies I couldn't hear. It is scanning communication bandwidths, she said. Define scanning. It is modeling behavioral patterns through data saturation. So it's reading the internet. Yes. I winced, we're doomed. Her ears tilted. Your species produces extraordinary volumes of contradictory information. That's called culture. It is statistically hostile to prediction. See, we're special. A sharp tone pierced the room. My satellite array interface flashed red. That's not special, I muttered. That's orbital interference. The probe was emitting something subtle. No visible beam. Just a pressure in the background radiation spectrum. It is adjusting probability weights, Lena said. Please translate into panic level. It is reducing variance. That sounds bad. It is making outcomes more consistent. With what? With projected failure. I stared at the screen. So it's smoothing us out. Yes, like ironing a planet. She considered that accurate metaphor. My lights flickered, my coffee machine powered on by itself. I didn't touch that, I said. The probe is testing micro-influence on electrical systems, she said calmly. The coffee machine began brewing aggressively. Well, I said, if we're being erased, at least we'll be caffeinated. She moved toward my workstation. You must introduce noise. Noise? Yes, unstructured input, rapid deviation. I'm good at that. Demonstrate. I opened every communication channel I had access to. Emergency broadcast overrides, satellite uplinks, amateur radio frequencies. What are you doing? She asked, creating chaos. I began routing random data bursts through civilian networks, harmless but erratic, traffic camera loops, weather model perturbations, stock exchange simulations fed with nonsense variables. That will destabilize predictive modeling, I asked. It will complicate it. Good enough. The room hummed as the probe intensified its signal. My tablet displayed a strange overlay, like invisible threads trying to align systems into neat lines. It is compensating, Lena said. Of course it is. It's a cosmic accountant. Her ears twitched. You reduce existential threat to occupational insult. It helps. The coffee machine overflowed. I shut it off. Okay, I said. What does it expect us to do? It expects coordinated defense, she said. Rational military escalation, unified communication. I slowly smiled. Oh, I said, we can't even agree on pizza toppings. She looked at me confused. That is food-related conflict. Exactly. I redirected feeds to amplify disagreement. Not real harm, just amplified commentary. Millions of tiny arguments flaring unpredictably. The probe's background pressure fluctuated. It is recalculating, Lena said quietly. Good, let it sweat. A deep vibration passed through the floor. My building trembled slightly. That didn't sound sweaty, I said. The probe is narrowing its focus, she replied. It has identified you. I froze. Me. You are producing disproportionate network irregularity. That's flattering. A thin column of pale light appeared in the center of my living room, I stared at it. Please tell me that's decorative. It is a localized observation node. The column pulsed once. My screens froze. Lena stepped between me and the light. You are interfering with sanctioned evaluation, she said, her voice sharper now. The light shifted, forming geometric patterns in midair. Is it talking? I whispered, yes. And it questions my loyalty. Great, I muttered. Office politics in space. The column intensified. Lena's ears flattened slightly. It proposes corrective action, she said. Corrective for who? For Earth. I swallowed, and for you. A pause for me as well. I looked at her. You didn't tell them about the variable thing, did you? No. The column pulsed again, stronger. My windows cracked slightly. Okay, I said quickly. New plan, bigger chaos. You risk systemic collapse. We're already being evaluated for deletion. Let's be impressive about it. She glanced at me. You are afraid. Obviously. But you continue. That's kind of our brand. For the first time, one corner of her mouth lifted. Unquantifiable, she murmured. The column flickered. I threw one last surge of erratic data into orbit, randomized signal echoes bouncing between satellites in unpredictable loops. The vibration in the room wavered. The light dimmed slightly. It is uncertain, Lena said. Good, I replied, staring at the fading glow. Let's keep it guessing. The observation node did not disappear. It multiplied. 3 more columns of pale light unfolded in my living room, each humming at a slightly different frequency. Please tell me that's decorative too, I said. No, Lena replied. This is escalation. The columns synchronized, forming a lattice of shifting symbols between them. They are requesting tribunal formation, she said. Tribunal sounds very final. It is a formal judgment process. Do we get a lawyer? She did not answer. The lattice projected outward, expanding until it filled the entire room. My screens rebooted again, but this time they displayed unfamiliar constellations, maps of sectors I did not recognize. They are linking to the 9th expansion choir, Lena said quietly. That sounds musical. I don't trust it. Her ears were angled sharply backward. They questioned my deviation from mission parameters. Which are? Observe, report. Do not influence. I gestured at the floating geometry. You influenced. Yes. The symbols brightened, then rearranged into a single focused beam aimed at Lena. I stepped in front of her without thinking. That's not necessary, she said. It makes me feel better. You are fragile. I'm aware. The beam passed through me without resistance. For a second, I felt weightless and infinitely analyzed, as if every bad decision I'd ever made had been placed in a spreadsheet. That was invasive, I said. They are sampling your cognitive patterns, she replied. Can they stop sampling my embarrassing memories? No. Fantastic. The symbols shifted again. They propose corrective neutralization, Lena said. I blinked. Neutralization of what? The variable. That's us. Yes. A low resonance spread through the floor. My building's structural monitors lit up with stress warnings. Okay, I said slowly. We need something bigger than random memes. Yes. You said they value predictability. Yes. What do they fear? She hesitated. Internal divergence. I stared at her. You mean disagreement? Yes. Our civilization maintains coherence through strict probabilistic alignment. So if you disagree publicly, it creates instability. I looked at the columns. They're connected to your people right now. Yes. I grinned. Oh, this is dangerous. Her ears twitched. You intend reckless strategy. Correct. I grabbed my main console and rerouted its broadcast capacity directly into the observation lattice. Armin, she said sharply, that connection is not secured for human transmission. Neither is our planet. I pushed the signal through. "Attention, choir of expansion," I said loudly, hoping translation algorithms were generous. "This is Earth. We have a complaint." The lattice flickered. "You are addressing superior authority," Lena warned. "Good." I turned to her. "Disagree with them." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "That is not permitted." "Exactly." The resonance in the room deepened. She faced the central column. "Assessment parameters are flawed," she said, voice steady. "Predictive reduction of chaotic biospheres results in strategic stagnation." The symbols stuttered. "You're arguing performance metrics," I whispered. "Yes." "You're amazing." The lattice pulsed violently. "They are registering dissent," she said. "Good, more." She took a step forward. "Earth demonstrates nonlinear adaptive resilience. Its unpredictability is not inefficiency. It is evolution in accelerated form." The columns flickered unevenly now. My screens displayed error cascades, alien scripts fragmenting into incompatible interpretations. "It is working," I said. "Partially," she replied. The central beam intensified suddenly, striking her directly. She stiffened. "Lena." "I am fine," she said, though her ears flattened hard against her head. "They are recalibrating my authority." "Can they do that?" "Yes." "That seems unfair." I looked at the trembling lattice and did the only thing that felt appropriate. I opened every global channel again. "This is not a drill," I broadcast. "Aliens are having a disagreement. Please continue arguing about everything." Across the world, feeds exploded with renewed debate, satire, parody broadcasts. Musicians released instant songs mocking cosmic bureaucracy. Scientists live-streamed furious rebuttals. Comedians declared open war on probability. The lattice destabilized further. "They cannot isolate a dominant pattern," Lena said, her voice strained but steady. "Because there isn't one." The columns flickered, dimmed, then split into asymmetrical fragments. "They are withdrawing to reassess," she whispered. "Does that mean we win?" "It means we are not deleted today." The final beam snapped off. Silence flooded the room. I exhaled slowly. "So," I said, collapsing into a chair, "how bad is the interstellar HR situation for you now?" Her ears lifted slowly, cautiously. "Severe," she admitted. I nodded. "Welcome to Earth," I said. The sky did not tear open again. It simply waited. 3 days passed without a new beam, without a new column of judgment in my living room. The silver craft remained above the city, silent but present, like a thought no one could quite finish. "You are unusually quiet," Lena said. "I'm waiting for the cosmic performance review," I replied. "It has concluded." "That's it. No fireworks, no dramatic ultimatum." She stepped closer to the window, listening to frequencies I still couldn't hear. "The choir has issued provisional deferral," she said. "Earth remains under extended observation. Deletion probability reduced below intervention threshold." I leaned back in my chair. "So we're conditionally alive?" "Yes, I'll take it." Her ears shifted forward, softer now. "There is additional determination." "Of course there is." "My interference has been recorded as deviation." "Meaning?" "I am recalled." The word landed heavier than any alien beam. "For punishment?" I asked. "For recalibration." "That sounds worse." She turned toward me. "If I comply, Earth's evaluation will proceed without advocacy. And if you do?" "I become severed from the choir, autonomous." I stared at her. "That sounds lonely." "It is statistically inefficient," she corrected. "Lena." "Yes." "You don't talk like that anymore." Silence stretched between us. "My projections have altered," she admitted. "Exposure to your species has introduced persistent variance in my decision-making. Welcome to humanity." The silver craft pulsed faintly in the sky. "They are awaiting response," she said. I stood up slowly. "When you first showed up," I said, "I was a guy arguing with a parking drone. You were already designated orbital specialist." "I was designated underpaid." One of her ears lifted slightly. "You are not the same as initial contact," she observed. "No," I said, "I'm not." 3 days ago, I would have tried to hide behind systems, behind protocols. Now I walk straight to the center of the room where the observation lattice had once formed. You said unpredictability was evolution, I said. So evolve. Her gaze sharpened. You advise defiance. I advise choice. The air shimmered faintly as the craft intensified its signal, waiting. She closed her eyes for a brief moment. My civilization measures worth by stability, she said quietly, but I have observed another metric. Which is? Capacity for change. I smiled. Yeah, we're annoyingly good at that. Her ears angled upward, almost amused. If I remain, she said, I relinquish rank, network, harmonic alignment. I become singular. Singular's not bad, I said. It's kind of our thing. The sky pulsed once more, brighter. They require immediate transmission, she said. Then transmit. She lifted her hand, and a narrow beam formed above her palm, connecting her to the silver craft. This is envoy Thielen, she said, voice steady. Mission parameters revised. I elect independent observation status. Earth designated as active evolutionary anomaly. Continued interference will produce diminishing predictive returns. The beam trembled. You're arguing economics again, I whispered. Yes. A long pause. Then the silver craft shifted, not descending, not attacking, leaving. The distortion in the sky unfolded like a curtain being drawn back. The mass signature thinned, stretched, and vanished into a fold of space so subtle it felt like forgetting. The city exhaled. My devices stabilized. Military feeds downgraded to confused commentary. Social media declared victory in 17 contradictory ways. It is done, Lena said softly. I looked at her. You're staying. Yes. No more choir. No. No more auditors. Not immediately. I laughed. That's the most reassuring thing you've ever said. She stepped closer. I will require habitation, she said, and sustenance. You can't eat probability. No. We'll start with coffee, I said. She considered that. Your species attributes significance to this beverage. It's sacred. Her ears tilted, curious. Then I will study it. We stood in silence for a moment. So what happens now? I asked. Now, she said, looking toward the horizon, we observe together. I nodded slowly. 3 days ago I had been afraid of deletion. Now I was thinking about defense grids, satellite redundancies, planetary cooperation protocols. You know, I said, if they ever come back we'll be ready. You intend preparation. I intend improvement. Her gaze lingered on me. You have shifted from reactive to proactive orientation. Yeah, I said, guess I evolved. One of her ears brushed lightly against my shoulder as she moved past me.